Welcome to the Real Refined Podcast, where faith and the mind meet. I'm your host, Bri, and I'm your host, Tiara. Tap in.
Hey, and welcome back to another episode. We back with another one.
Another.
So I'm excited because now we get to show our faces
Yes.
behind the voices because y'all know who we are.
Right.
So we do have a very powerful episode as always, right? I don't think we ever have an episode that's not powerful.
Yeah, and hopefully we don't cry on camera today because normally we're crying behind the audio. So
you know what? Don't jinx us today. Okay, but before we even get into the episode, we are talking about rejection today. However, I have a shameless plug. So Tiara has a course, If She Is to Be Found, Healing the Single Woman, that I'm not single, but I'm taking. And I just wanted to tell y'all about it, or more so her tell y'all about it, because it's so powerful. Like, we're only in week 2 and I'm getting tore up, like snatched up by my jaws. But it's that good. So I just wanted to just ask you about the course and just why you created the course and what are we supposed to be gaining from the course, because you out here snatching us up. I appreciate it though.
Yes, all glory to God. So the course, If She Is to Be Found, Healing the Single Woman, it was just birthed out of a place of being tired of the cycles that I was in. And God really brought me to a place where he said, it's time to pause. Like, just stop all of this stuff that you're doing to try to, fill in these voids in your life. And simply put, I created the course out of that time and space that I was in with God myself. And what God revealed to me after me coming out of that space was that his daughters are hurting. And we're hurting and we're just continuing on achieving and getting promotions and getting degrees and getting married and starting families. And we're still hurting. And so this course is the opportunity for other women to press pause and to just kind of stop and take inventory of where I am and what is the brokenness that I'm carrying into these relationships. And I mean, it's so much more than just about dating and relationships. It's really just about you. And some of the stuff that we talked about this last week was our insecurities and reconciling our insecurities and really finding the root of where some of these insecurities came from. We started a powerful exercise that God gave me. And when I did it, I was like, whoa, where we're just giving thanks and we're coming into agreement with what God says about us. It's just been powerful. And I really appreciate that Bri wanted to enroll in the course. And what that showed me and helped me to understand is that, the course is for single women. I'm constantly getting people questions about, well, I'm married, am I able to take it? And I was really hesitant to open it up to married women because we do talk about dating and relationships. And what I found through her being in the course is that and I'm psychology background, right? So there's a such thing as systems theory, and what it basically means is that there are several components to making up the whole. So in this example, it would be the family unit or the marriage unit. You're one component of that, and as you change, the whole system has to change. And so you, as a single woman enrolling in the course, this is going to be beneficial to your marriage, to your family, because you're going to be dealing with the deep stuff that affects how you show up in those spaces. It'll even affect how you show up as a leader in your work. It affects everything. So saying that it's for the single woman simply means you, the single woman, as a single component in whatever your family relationship or situation looks like. So I'm just so excited. And every week that I show up, my mind is continuing to be blown by what God does and the stuff that comes out of my mouth that really isn't me. And I think it's really tailored, each cohort, for the women that are in the course and what it is that God needs them and us, because I'm getting fed to what we need to get out of each time we do a course and each time we have a class.
I'm so proud of you. It's the obedience for me. It really is. But I think what you're doing, it's a season of healing. We already talked about this.
Yeah.
I think collectively, like right now, everybody needs to be in this place of healing because there's some deep rooted things that we're not dealing with. Well, I've been run a track star out here. I've been running. And your course shows me as a married woman that I am an individual still. And like when you get so wrapped up in being mom and wife and boss and all these other things, like you forget like you're still a single, not single, but like you're still a person.
Yeah.
And getting underneath and getting to the root, as we always talk about,
Yeah.
so powerful. So y'all, take this course. Married,
Yes.
single, divorced, whatever.
I will be hosting it again. So
As
when I
you
open up
should.
enrollment, get yourself in there so you can still
Run.
have a Healed
Get
Girl
there.
Summer 2023.
And next year. So that's so good. I just wanted to put in that little plug and let people know, like, you out here doing big things, and I'm really proud of you. And you out here healing us. So, but to the episode, y'all. So we are talking about rejection, and you know, I think rejection always has this negative like vibe to it. Like when you're rejected, it's bad, and people don't realize that whenever you look at rejection in a negative way, you're operating in a fixed mindset.
Yeah.
Because a growth mindset is going to tell you, like, oh, you know what, this was a no, but what was the other? Why was this a no? You're going to look at the things that, I missed this opportunity, but there's also something else behind it. I'm not going to lie. I now thank God for the no's.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of one of those things where you're just like, am I being protected from something, or like what is it? So just understanding that there is so much power in rejection is something that I'm glad we're going to talk about. But I also think that people get so like trapped in that this, like, once you get told no, there's nothing else after the no.
Yeah.
We get stuck there. Fixed mindset, by the way. You get stuck just in that place. So what are your thoughts? Have you experienced a lot of rejection?
Oh my goodness. Look, I have to say that, and we've talked about this in the course, rejection is one of those things that right now, today, I am still wrestling with. And you get delivered from something, right? But even the Bible tells us that, like, that spirit is coming back and it's looking for an open door. And so while I've come to terms with some of the rejection that I've experienced in my life, when the other doors get slammed, it's like it activates that. Well, do you see it as this positive thing, or are we gonna go back to you're not valuable, or you're not worthy of this?
Mm-hmm.
And it really is a struggle at times to really operate from a place of knowing that the rejection is protection, and that the no is not it's not about your value and your worth. It's about, this is not a fit. This doesn't go together. These two things do not operate in their best like this. And so that's something that I still currently struggle with. I can go all the way back to elementary school.
The roots.
Girl. Oh my gosh. I mean, I spent so many years trying to fit in. And it really just shows how deeply rooted some of our decisions can be in our adult life and in our workplace and in our dating relationships and friendships and stuff, when you've already dealt with rejection from such a young age, and you think that, okay, I don't care, I found my people, I found my tribe. But I mean, even something as small as like people having a conversation and you're not included, or they have an event and you're not invited, it can trigger that, oh, well, they really don't like you like that. Oh, well, they're probably talking about you. It can trigger those thoughts. And just like a person dealing with addiction, you know, you have to continue to fight those thoughts off and acknowledge the truth about the situation when those things come up. What about you?
Ooh, goodness. I was over here thinking, like, where have I experienced rejection? And it's been in so many different areas. And I'm just like, because I ain't trying to cry on here. When I think about it, I'm like, I was never taught how to handle that emotion that comes behind rejection, because you're not feeling good enough. And especially if you're like applying for jobs. Oh my goodness, getting out the military was really hard for me, because I'm like, I'm qualified, I have a great background, I got my degree, all these other things that I'm clearly qualified for. Door slam, door slam, door slam, and then I get into a small town where there's not very many jobs to begin with. That transition from being a soldier to being a veteran was just so. It was a trying time, and I'm just like, even thinking about like the government jobs, trying to do USA jobs. Why am I not qualified enough for this?
Yeah.
So having all those doors slammed in my face just made me feel like, why? First of all, why waste my money? Well, why waste military money to go to school? if you guys are going to just close the door in my face anyway. You know what I'm saying? So it was just thinking about that, but like that feeling of disappointment and feeling like you're not good enough and seeing other people picked for what you are signing up for or you're doing, it's just like your earring left again.
Look,
It's
if she don't want me, I don't want her. Let her stay down there.
Bye. It's just like that emotion behind it is just like being taught how to deal with the doors closing. And then there was a lot of things I was asking for that I understand now I technically wasn't ready for. Like, how many things are we asking God for all the time? I want more money. I want more of this. I want this fancy car. But you're not managing your money right now. So he's going to tell you no.
Yeah.
You want all of these. You want a bigger house. Okay, how are you managing where you are right now? So when I think about that no now, because back then I'm just like, Mom, I hear. God, why did you tell me no? Like, temper tantrum, like a 2-year-old needing to get snatched up by my pamper real quick. Like, it's one of those things where sometimes we're just not ready for what we've been asking for. So when the no isn't really just a bad thing. I just think society just puts such a really negative twist on that no. When really there's power in the word no, just like when we tell people no, but man, God's rejection is just something that I had to grow to learn.
Yeah.
So I just never learned how to, like, how do you, now I can teach the kids, like, if someone tells you no, it's okay.
Yeah.
But I really wish that I was taught how to handle the emotion behind the no. If that makes sense.
And I think, so we just did a Bible study a couple of weeks ago about boundaries, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in the Bible study, we found that God has been using boundaries since the beginning of time. Like, there's a certain place that the ocean in the water needs to be. There's a certain place that birds need to be, and fish and us. And I think that the lesson was powerful because it taught us to be more comfortable and confident when we say no. But the other side of that is being okay when somebody else says no to us. And I think that's the hard thing. I think that we struggle not only with hearing the no from somebody else, but in turn, we struggle with saying no to certain things. Just like what I shared with you this morning, there was a job opportunity that came up, and I really, am looking for something different. And there was that moment of like, I maybe just need to go with this for now and settle on this for now, because I don't want to say no, because I don't know when another opportunity is going to come right now, right?
Yep.
We don't know how to just say, this is not what I'm looking for.
No, thank you.
No, thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity. I thank you for thinking of me. However, this does not align. And I think a big part of the no's is being very firm and having that foundation of like, this is who I am, this is what I am, this is what I'm looking for, these are my expectations, and sticking to that. And I think we have a hard time hearing no because we are not clear on what's for us to even say no. So in turn, we internalize somebody else saying this is my boundary as saying something about our value, when in fact it is that person being clear on, hey, this is not for me. It's something to be respected. Honestly, even in relationships, right? Sometimes we're in relationships with people, and I know this is a big area of rejection for me, where somebody is like, I'm not ready for what you're ready for. And they may not say it out of their mouths, but just in the way that they start moving. You know what I mean? Like, you moving weird. We start to say like, oh, well, if you don't want me, or you feel away and you don't feel like you want to make this commitment to me, that says something about my value. But in fact, that person is doing you a favor. Because baby, if you can't handle me now, I mean, eyes have not seen, ears have not heard where I will be in the next 5-10 years by the grace of God. So if you can't handle this now, if you can't laugh at these funny jokes now, you're going to be feeling real lost in the sea later. Look.
Bye.
So thank you for your services. Thank you for the time that you've given me to learn more about myself. Thank you. And that's such a hard thing to do because we get so focused on the way the person rejected me.
Yep.
well, you ain't have to start talking to somebody else. You didn't have to tell me, you didn't have to say, but that's okay. That don't have nothing to do with me. It still does not speak to my value the way that you said no. It speaks about your character the way you said no. What it does for me is that it frees me to receive the things that are for me. And I think on some level, we don't feel like God has something that's a better fit for us. So we're so afraid to let what we already have go. We're afraid to be like, okay, free yourself, baby. If that's what you feel like you need to do that. Because you're doing both of us a favor.
Yeah. Your hair's uneven. You look dusty.
Really, honestly, you really wasn't all that. It's still a little petty in here. Okay.
I mean,
it's still a little petty in here, you know.
Oh my goodness.
We growing.
You know what? I think when you said the thank you, a lot of the time we just get stuck at this person rejected me, not, thank you for removing yourself, or thank you for the quote unquote missed opportunity. Really, we forget that God wants what's best for us. And I think that's the key. We always think when something goes wrong, oh God, why me? Like, why did you do this to me? As opposed to like, wait a minute. What are you protecting me from? What are you saving me from? Like the trash relationships, the trash friendships, the garbage, like those kind of
fancy garbage.
Like those things. Like we have to stop, again, y'all, going back to mindset, like we have to make up our mind every single time that something happens of that capacity to really challenge it.
Yeah.
Like what in this situation, what didn't work out? Okay, this didn't work out, but what are the positive things in this? Yeah. And we just stop at, this person did me dirty, or this person was using me, or I'm rejected by this job, or things like that. When really there's something greater. And that was something that I had to learn for myself. Like, you just get so stuck and you just stop. And then you start thinking to yourself, like, I'm unworthy and I'm not good enough. And I think one of the biggest areas that I'm working to heal from, and your course has been helpful with that, I felt rejected by my dad for so long. Because it's just like, when you don't have that active parent, it makes you feel like you feel rejected.
Yeah.
Like, why was I not good enough?
That's a significant
rejection. That is. Yeah. And that's a root. We talk about the root all the time here in our episodes, and just everything that we do and that we teach. And getting to the root for me, where my rejection stemmed from, is that.
Yeah.
Because when you think about it, like, because I was you can tell me about nothing about my daddy.
Yeah.
Nothing. And then as I got older and I realized that, wow, you don't show up for me. You don't really, you're not my dad. And then when I have to have that daddy-daughter relationship with God, it's like, how do I do that when my actual father here rejected me in that way? And hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah.
No, so like does. Getting to the root of, y'all, I'm telling you, there's something about getting to the root of why, because you can't tame what you don't name. You got to be able to know what it is you're fighting up against. Otherwise, you're going to continue operating in circles. You're going to continue down the same path, and you're going to continue being in a fixed mindset, thinking that, well, I'm going to always be rejected. You probably will if that's all you think about.
Yeah. Self-fulfilling prophecy.
I mean, if you're always telling yourself that you're not good enough, if you're always telling yourself you're going to be rejected, if you're always telling yourself that, well, maybe someone else can get the job, or maybe I'm not good enough for this relationship, you're not going to be.
Yeah.
If we're just being straight up about it, it's just, we just have to begin to change the narrative when it comes to rejection, because it's real. It's a real thing. Happen. And it's going to happen. There's no doubt that you're not going to be rejected ever. Like, you're going to be rejected. Yeah. But how you respond, just like anything in life, how you respond, though, that's the component that we have to do a better job at.
Yeah. That's so good. The fact that rejection is inevitable, I also think it kind of speaks to the nature of God to like move people. If we look at people in the Bible, as God was using people for different things, he never kept them in the same space. Like King David had to leave where he was from tending to animals. Now he's, in the house of the king, and he's working alongside the king. Abraham, he had to leave his father's house in order to move and start being the father of nations. Moses had to, like, there's all of these transitions, and I think that it speaks to the nature of God in that nothing is going to stay the same. There are things that we have to move around in order to fulfill what God has called us to do. And I think that just the nature of having to move and shift and change, which all of us are doing, if you think about it, like in life, the friendships that have changed, like my relationships with my friends have changed. I've not been friends with some people that I thought I would be friends with forever from elementary school. And, you know, my circle has changed. And even like the closeness and intimacy of those relationships, those dynamics have changed over the years. And I think that it's to the glory of God, because it's like, I need you to get certain things out of this season. And I think us not accepting these rejections that are going to come, it's because we don't understand time and seasons.
Yeah.
Like, there's a time for me to be in this relationship and get everything that this relationship is supposed to teach me. And, you know, the experiences that I'm going to gain in this relationship. There was a time that God had given me grace to be ratchet and raggedy and be out here living real raunchy and dirty, hooking and crooking, okay? There was a time and a season for that. Because had I not been there, I would not be the woman that I am today. I would not be able to speak to certain people in a certain way. I wouldn't have the confidence in like, hey, I know who I am. Like, I've come to grow and accept this girl regardless of who else does not accept. Like, those seasons are there for a reason. And I even think us rejecting certain parts of ourselves needs to be a part of this conversation. You don't just get to be the version of yourself that you are when you walk into the church on Sunday mornings, right? You're not just that. You have to bring, y'all see how I'm talking to y'all on this camera. I bring that wherever I go. Even into workplaces, like the code switching, I'm rejecting certain parts of myself because I'm like, oh, I can't do that in this space.
You can't say that.
Right. And it's, of course, there's a certain way to conduct yourself and there's order, right? We know that. However, and that's one of the things for my job that's on my card that I put my prayer on. If I cannot bring all of me, if I cannot be my authentic self in the space, I don't want to be there, because I'm no longer rejecting parts of myself to fit into certain spaces. If you only want this side of me, I can't come. If you only want these two parts of me over here, I will not be there, because we're not going back, we're not a fit. It's not about I'm not good enough. You're not a fit. You might not be a fit because you have too much to offer. There's a such thing as being overqualified for jobs.
That's true.
You're just not a fit. And it's okay, because you are a fit somewhere else. You might be a fit in this space in a different season, but it's time and seasons. And it just goes back to just trusting that God cares enough about me where he's just not giving good things to everybody else.
Yeah.
Good things are for me. Like, exceedingly and abundantly and above, it's for me. But I have to be flexible to what that looks like from him in order to receive that. Because a lot of times the no is really just saving you another 2 years of hell.
I agree.
And you don't even know what's about to happen.
I think we're a microwave society in a lot of ways. We want things yesterday. Like, why is it not here yet?
Honey, here, now.
Right now. Like, a lot of the times we just want things now. And then we go off, we pray about it, and we're just not patient. Yeah. All right, gotta ask you like a week ago, what happened? Meanwhile, in your waiting season, there's work that you could be doing. So even when we get that rejection, there's still more things that we could be doing. Yeah. And then we go leaning on our own understanding. Like, all right, well, I'm just going to figure it out. And then be mad at God because it didn't work out.
Right.
Why are we like this?
Childish.
It happens like that. But when you said there's a time and season, I just continue to think, like, there is a time for everything. It's just that we want it yesterday, now, as opposed to just understanding that I'm now thankful for the no's. I'm now thankful for the rejection, whether it be from jobs, whether it be from like people. I think it's in a space now where I'm just like, because before I didn't understand it.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't understand. And even thinking about it now, it's just like there's still, because it's ongoing, just like healing is, when you receive that rejection, don't go back to, you know, hiding and feeling worthless because you've been rejected again. You still have to do that work to say, you know what, it's not me. Or thinking about how to twist that. Like maybe I need to fix my resume. You know, maybe I need to have more boundaries. Maybe I need to stop dealing with certain people. Maybe I need to change a certain cycle about myself so I'm not inserting myself into these situations to be rejected, if that makes sense. I'm not saying sometimes we do set ourselves up for that rejection in a lot of ways. I think the reality of it is that sometimes we are the problem. But if we're just twisting it, and just like people kind of just put this big old stigma on like mental health in general, I think the same like spotlight goes on rejection, because it's just like, well, you've been rejected, so now you're not good enough. You have this big L on your forehead that says maybe next time, but not really. Like it's a weird way that the world spins it, and that's why I live by Romans 12:2. Because if I was to continue to go off of what the world says and what society says, I would probably not be in my right mind. If I continue to look at the fact that people are getting other things before me, as opposed to, God, what are you preparing me for? Like going into that wilderness a few times, because wilderness ain't just once. The wilderness is a few times. Going back into the wilderness and just spending that time alone with God is so beneficial. You don't really, sometimes you're resistant about going. You're like, I don't really want to be by myself, but you don't really by yourself. But that is where I learned that I can be rejected and it's okay. Am I still healing in areas of rejection? Yes. Am I still understanding that it is not my fault in certain situations that I was rejected? I'm still learning and I'm still growing through that. But I think ultimately the whole purpose of this topic is that rejection is okay. And if we continue to make it look like this very bad thing, that's all we're going to see. It's just what you focus on grows. So as long as I'm saying this rejection sucks and it's terrible, it's going to be like that. All the time.
And everybody, I mean, even the most influential people, your favorite, whoever, everybody has dealt with rejection. I mean, even in the scripture, Jesus was rejected for who he was by his own people. It's like, you're just Jesus, the carpenter's son. And he went on to still be who he is regardless of that. And he even taught his disciples, if you go into a town and they don't receive you, shake the dust off your feet and just keep moving. And I think, you know, that was something that he gave to his disciples, which I believe is all of us. We are called to influence. We are called to tell other people about who God is and like, hey, you don't have to clean it up to come to him, just come. I think that that's the same thing for us, and not just in discipleship, but just in living your life. If this job doesn't want you, if this man doesn't want you, if this woman doesn't want you, if these sets of friends don't want you, if this church doesn't want you, if this group doesn't want you, shake the dust off your feet and just keep moving. Like, I think that's the instruction. The question and the thing that we have to work through is the emotions that come with the no. But I think that either way it goes, once you receive it, we follow the instructions that we're given. Shake the dust off your feet and just keep moving. Something else is going to want you. God didn't make anybody to be undesirable, right? Nobody. Sometimes we see, you know, people that we don't think, and we just like, oh, they always got somebody, you know. Everybody is made to be desired. They just might not be for you. There's some people that it's like, I wouldn't hire them. I wouldn't be friends with them, because that's real. We're talking about rejection. We all reject other people as well. That's true. There are certain people I would not date. I wouldn't even look at you twice. I wouldn't date you if you was the last person on the planet. I wouldn't date you if I was in The Handmaid's Tale. I wouldn't do it. But they're for somebody else, just like I'm for somebody else. Like, and I think that's another thing. We're not cognizant of how we reject people.
It's easy to point.
It's stuff that we don't like.
Yeah.
There's certain foods. Somebody talked about Burger King last night. I reject that. In the name of Jesus. It's nasty.
I like Burger King.
I don't like Burger King. But you know what I'm saying? Like, there's things that we just know. That's not for me. I don't like it. So naturally, there are people that or like, she's not really my cup of tea.
But back to one of our old episodes, Real Problematic. It's easy for us to, just like you said, like, we can reject others with ease. The answer is no. I'm good on you.
Yeah.
But when we get it back, it's like, how dare you?
Yeah, like, what's wrong with me?
Why would you do that? I'm all that, you know. Why would you tell me no? But you know what I was thinking too as you were speaking? Rejection hits so hard because of comparison. Comparisonitis. That's exactly what it is. We're over here like, Joe Schmo's getting everything. They got the house, the car, this, and all this other stuff. Why are you telling me no?
Right.
What happened? Not realizing that we don't know what Joe Schmo had to go through to get there or what their journey looked like. So the biggest thing with comparison is, and because let me just be clear, there's good comparison and there's terrible comparison.
Right.
The good comparisons, I would say, like with us, like you push me.
Same.
Just the way we push each other, where it's, I see what my sister's doing, boom, let me get on my stuff because I'm over here slacking.
Yes.
You know, like that's the comparison, like seeing your post, like, okay, I'm over here got my feet kicked up as if I ain't got nothing to do. I'm not supposed to be changing minds out here. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's very healthy comparison. But then you have the other side of it, when I was talking about the person comparison to Joe Schmo, which is, how dare I be rejected when this person is getting that? And then here come the emotions. Like you were saying, we don't know how to deal with the emotions that come with rejection. But if we spin comparison, we have to stop the comparison itis.
Yeah.
Because I believe that that's one of the biggest reasons why we get so locked in and trapped in our minds about rejection, because it's like, I'm over here looking at everybody else's life. I'm over here seeing what everyone else is doing. I'm over here seeing their blessings, and what about me? Like, you begin to feel left out. You begin to feel alone. Like, but then you have to ask yourself, what are you doing to get to your next level anyway?
Yeah.
Are you doing the work? You're in your waiting season. What are you doing? Because if you live passively and have a passive mind, you're about to get beat up.
Yes. Yes.
Every single day. A passive idle mind is dangerous.
It is.
It's so dangerous to be in that place. So more than we talk about rejection, it's just like, there are things that we're supposed to be doing. It's just, are you going to be intentional about doing, or are you going to sit up with your feet kicked up with a glass of lemonade or, you know, a little something, waiting for someone to just hand it to you? Like, we get so trapped in that, and I think that that's one of the biggest issues with rejection and why there's this negative spin on it, because it's like, I want what you want. I want the Tesla you're driving. Meanwhile, your credit score ain't gonna get what you asking for.
Yeah.
What are you going to do to fix it?
And it just brings it back to whatever it is that you see that you want, you have to be willing to do the work. Because sometimes we can, and when I say over spiritualize, I don't mean that God's not involved in everything. But what I'm saying is, when we over spiritualize, it's when we expect for God to do the work that we're not willing to do in order to get this particular thing, right? So if me and you are on the phone and we're talking about how we both want to coach, and when we get off the phone, you're working and putting in the work and the time to get your stuff together to coach, and I'm not doing anything. And then when I see you doing it, I'm like, well, how come she gets to have that? And God, why you not doing it for me? Because she did the work. Offline, like taking the time to look at, okay, what is it that I need to do? And you can't do that in groups. You have to be committed individually to working on self, which is another thing, shameless plug, what we're doing in the class. You want this healthy couple goals relationship or this great career, you have to take the time, set this time aside, and stop scrolling and looking at what everybody else is doing that you want and feel like don't want you, and do the work so that you can be found faithful and trustworthy to have a Tesla or an income or a spouse. These are things that are responsibilities. They're not just things to have to flex. Like, they're responsibilities, and if you're not doing the work, you're not fit to have it. Or if you're gonna have it, it's gonna be busted
and crusty.
Definitely. It's definitely an accountability component in some of our feelings of rejection, because I think sometimes we're real sensitive, but we don't want to do any work.
It's the laziness that comes behind it. Let me correct that. It's the entitlement.
Yeah.
It's the entitlement behind that. I mean, it's laziness too, But we're really entitled, especially when we see the blessings that pour down constantly, and then where's a time to shift into another season, and you have to do work to get into that season. It's kind of like, well, I've been blessed thus far, I don't gotta do nothing.
Yeah.
But I think that we still have to. And so when I think about like this topic and I think about what's going forward, I think yes, society has a negative spin on it, but because we're real here, I think there's a lot of self stuff that we have to do.
Definitely.
You know, like that work that says, I am going to work on this area so that I can get to the next level, because change is going to be uncomfortable. That's why rejection is so uncomfortable. Like you're being taken from whatever this no is. There's something greater for you. There's something better for you.
Yeah.
And it's always going to be that. You just don't know, because we don't know what it is. We want to be fortunate in future tellers. Like, okay, so I see my future. I want to go see somebody that's going to tell you your future, but who really lied to you. Like, they're about to take the money. Like,
on experience.
So I just think it comes down to understanding that there's so much power behind rejection. It's just taking it from that fixed mindset that says, hence shameless plug, my course, but from that fixed mindset that's going to tell you that you're here, chains locked on your mind, and you're trying to get to this place where rejection ain't so bad.
Yeah. It's all about
these
perspective.
no's ain't so bad. It really is. Yeah. It really is. So you have anything in closing?
Just it's so much about perspective. It's so much about perspective. Just know that whatever is for you, God has it for you. Be willing to do the work. There's a time to sow. So sow in season so that when the harvest time comes, you can get everything that's for you, and you don't have to be looking at somebody else's harvest thinking that God don't want the best for me too. Yeah, just do the work. Do the work, and God's got you while you're doing the work.
Yep. And what I have in closing is just to drop the comparison. I think with rejection, we're so caught up in comparing ourselves to everyone else's journey that we think our no is the end. Like that's it. Your no is not the end. And God has more for you. Like He wants what's best for us. And I know our futures are bright. I know y'all's futures are bright. I know there's great things coming. Get her course because it's awesome.
Get hers too.
So thank y'all for tuning in with us. Until next time. Bye.
Bye.